Hello, my crafty friends. I hope you are doing well today. We are going to make another card together. We are going to make this beauty. I hope you can see that. This is using the Beauty of Friendship stamp set and dies. Lovely, lovely trees. Love the sentiments in this stamp set. But I've got something extra special in this card. I'm going to show you how to make not only the card, but this little pop-up. Isn't that fun? It's so easy. You are not going to believe it. It's really, really easy. And you could do this with so many different stamp sets. So it's a nice little surprise on the inside of the card. So I hope that you will enjoy this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, like or follow me on my Facebook page, or you can find me on YouTube. So let's get started. So first of all, let me tell you what you will need to make this card. We're going to start with the card base, which is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4 1/4. And it's your thick basic white is what I used for this card. Excuse me. For the inside, you've got a piece that's cut at 5 1/8 by 8 inches and scored at 4. And this is going to be the piece that we're going to use to create the pop-up. And I will show you how to do that. Now you could use any piece that coordinates. This happens to be Sahara sand. And then for the background of the front of the card, I've got a piece of bumblebee, and it's cut 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then for the 2 layers below it, I've got, this one is Early Espresso, and I've embossed it with the bark embossing folder, which is in the new annual catalog. Really adds some nice texture that I thought went very well with this stamp set. And of course it is part of the suite. This piece is cut at 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. And my original intention was to layer it, which is why I cut it that way, with this piece. And I'll show you what I decided. You can see obviously what I decided to do. This is actually a piece of the Designer Series paper. It's the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper, and it's cut at 4 inches by 3 inches. This is the other side of that paper. This paper is really beautiful. So 4 inches by 3 inches, and we did some blending on that piece. So then we're going to need some scraps of the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper, and you can see I cut out the tree from this piece, and the top of the tree is from the other side. Isn't that pretty? That's got this nice bark. So I cut that out with one of the dies, and it already has the lines in it, which makes a really fun tree, and then the other side here. So I did that ahead of time so that you don't have to watch me cut everything out. And then another piece of Designer Series paper that we're going to use, which is also from this Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. These trees here, and this is the other side, which is just kind of a basic green background. And I cut this one at 1 1/4 inches. And the reason I did that was just because that's just what worked in for this paper. I just wanted to get these lines of trees, and we're going to put that on the bottom of the inside of the card. So that's why that is. It's 4 inches by 1 1/4 inches. And so, you know, depending on what paper you use on the inside, you could do just about anything. And then I have some scrap of basic white that we're going to stamp on. So let's see. Let's get started. Let's get started with the stamping. The first thing I generally like to do is just take my card base, fold it in half, and score it. Kind of put it aside so that I don't get anything on it. So since we're going to be doing some stamping on these other pieces, I'll move all those others to the side. This is that inside piece, which is also score and folded. That's going to be for the inside. So let me get this out of the way, and let's go ahead and get started. So these are the dies. Move them out of the way. So the first piece that we're going to stamp, let me bring in my little scrap page here. I just cut up the papers that we have into some small pieces and use those as overflow just to make them go a little bit further. So there's a little, I don't know what you'd call it. I guess it's like just a little blurb. And I'm just gonna make some interest in the base by stamping on Bumblebee cardstock with Bumblebee ink. Okay, kind of turning and twisting, and I'm just kind of going randomly along the bottom, really just the two corners of the page, because most of it's going to be hidden by our other layers. So you can kind of just look and see what you've got there. I just really want that to kind of be seen, give a little bit of interest there. So that's the first bit of stamping. That's a really easy one, isn't it? Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the blending brush and we are going to create some grass. So for our next layer, I'm using Old Olive. It's just one of the colors that coordinates with this paper. And if you haven't used these blending brushes yet, they are just fabulous. They're so soft. Oh my goodness, you don't need to press too hard, but you can get a firm grip on there. And I'm just going to create some grass. So I'm going to tap off. So I just rubbed, as you saw, I kind of rubbed on there, getting the ink on it. And then this is the paper, and you can see how it looks like clouds. So my tree is going to go on top of the clouds. So I kind of look to see which side do I want to cover. I feel like I want to do it this way. And I'm just taking that blending brush and I'm just going over the bottom of that page. So it's going to create a little area that looks like grass. And then that tree is going to be layered on top. So I hope that you have had a chance to go through your annual catalog, the newest annual catalog, and enjoy some of the great stamp sets and bundles that are there. Of course, the mini catalog's coming out tomorrow, so there are some other wonderful options in that mini catalog that coordinate with all of the stamp sets and give you lots of other great tools to use. So wanted to make sure to use my current catalog, keep it live. Also, this designer series paper is on sale right now. Actually, today's the last day that you can get it, 15% off. Again, this is the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper. It really is lovely. There we go. Just gives that a little bit of green, a little bit of the illusion of some grass on the bottom and then the sky behind it. I think that's good. And you don't need to clean these with water. You can just kind of get the ink off, and as you can see, it stains a little bit, but I'm going to use that with all of my green inks. Okay, so that's the base of that card, of that piece. And then I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to wait to stay. Well, no, I guess I could do that now. I'm going to wait. Sorry, I changed my mind. Okay, I'm going to line this up so I can see kind of where it's going to go, because I want to ground this tree. And so I need to know where this tree is going to end up on my paper so that I can put some ground in it. Actually, I think that'll be good right there. Okay, so there's this piece, this stamp, looks like a little bit of ground, like a shadow underneath the tree. And I'm going to use the Early Espresso, and I'm going to stamp it off. And that just kind of gives me an idea of where I want that tree. So it's going to be right about there. See what I did there? Look at that on my finger too. Got to clean that off before I smudge my paper. All right, let's try that again. Nice and easy. I think I'll do another one over here. There we go. And maybe one more shadow there. Okay. And then when I put my tree on there, it'll look like it's got some ground underneath it. All right. So that's the front of the card. That's all the stamping on those pieces. Now, in order to create our sentiment, I did already do this. This is Thinking of You. I stamped it. That's one of the stamps that's in the stamp set. And then I cut it out with a die. This banner die comes in the stamp set as well. So I just cut it out with the banner die. You, of course, could just, if you wouldn't have to cut it out. But it's got, I don't know if you can see that, it's got like a little edge along there, some scoring. That really adds some nice interest to it. So I cut that out already, and then I'm going to layer that on top of this. This is actually from last year's catalog, the suede, the soft suede ribbon, which I just love, this ribbon. So I'm going to just layer that. So that'll be on the front too. So we'll wait and we'll do all of our assembly together and finish up our stamping. All right, so stamping for our pop-up. So what I'm going to use is I'm also using this early espresso. We're going to create our tree for our pop-up. And I'm going to stamp off. But since this has some background, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my stamping pad. Stamp it off. And then I'm going to stamp. And this is going to be cut out with the die, so it's easy enough to do. I'm going to do two separate pieces, okay? So you can see that's nice, got a nice background on it. And then I'm going to also cut out, let's go this way. I'm going to do it again, but this one it doesn't matter. I'm only going to use the top of the tree. So I have a smaller piece that's going to go like that. Okay. And then the crown of the tree, there are two stamps. So one is, it looks like a distinctive stamp. I don't remember if it officially is, but it definitely has a lot of layers to it. And then the other one has more, has fewer layers. So one is kind of blurrier than the other. So the background stamp is the one that's a little bit blurrier. So use the bumblebee for that. You can kind of see now with the ink on it, right? And of course, when I put it on here, you'll really be able to see. And I'm just kind of looking through. It's photopolymer stamp, so I can kind of look through and see where I want it to be. There we go. And you see, even just like that is beautiful. It's got layers of color just from the single stamp. But, of course, that's not enough for us. We're going to add some more. I played around with lots of different color combinations for this with these two stamps. But because the Designer Series paper is that green and gold, that's why I decided to go with this. So this is another layering piece. This is using the Old Olive ink, which is one of the coordinating colors. Again, I'm just kind of lining it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here we go. You know, that Old Olive ink is interesting. It starts out dark, but you will see that it's going to lighten over time. Just re-inked that ink pad so that it will do that. And you can do the same thing. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and I'll show you. I did the same thing on the envelope. So you could do the same thing with the 3 layers all at once, though. All right, so now I've got my pieces, and I do have to cut these out. So let me run these through. I'm going to bring in my mini die cutting machine, just because it's easier to show you here. And I'm going to take there are 2 dies. So you see this is the crown, the die. You've got my pieces for my mini die cutting machine. And I'm just gonna kind of line that up. I do have a little piece of tape there to just help it stay where I want to stay. That's a little removable tape. And it moved. I just don't want too much white showing. There we go. And run that through. Sometimes it's nice to use the little boss just because there's a little more room, especially under the camera. There we go. See? And then I will take the other die and run it through as well. And with this one, I found that I really just want to line up the trunk. That's what's most important. And it is a little wiggly. So I'm going to go ahead and use some more, another little piece of tape. This is a really low tack tape. As you can see, kind of struggling here to make sure I see it and get it right. Okay, there we go. That's why I was too high. All right, there we go. Get that out of the way. And there's our card, the base. Now really, I'm just gonna layer these, so it really doesn't matter what the top of the tree looks like. It's really, that's why I was really more concerned about the bottom. It's a little bit of white on there, so I was a little off. I'm gonna go ahead and just trim some of that off. You know, that happens sometimes, right? Not to worry. Just nice and easy. A little bit of trimming. Boom. Done. Okay. So now I am going to, so now that's for the inside. That stamping is done. All right, let me think. Yep, all my stamping is done. So let's go ahead and start assembling the card. There's one more thing that we need to do for this pop-up before we begin assembling. I'm gonna bring in my paper cutter. Let me move some of the stuff off to the side, out of the way. Bring in my paper cutter. And I create, when I do one of these pop-ups, I created a, I don't know what you'd call it, like a sample for myself. This is just using, you know, photocopy paper. And I create a template, and then I have this for, you know, to remember. It's easy for me to remember for other cards that I want to make. I only have to create it once. So again, my card base is 5 1/8 by 8 inches, and it's scored at 4. And then you can see already, right? This is how it's going to work. And you can move this particular piece. I'm going to show you how to cut it, but you can be anywhere on your card if you wanted to pop up, you know, going this way. Over here, you just move it over, put it wherever you want it. So I'm scoring at 1 inch between the cut lines, but my cut lines, the first one is at 1 1/4 inches, and the second one is at 2 1/2 inches. Okay, see that? All right, so my first cut line is at 1 1/4 inches, so I line that up. I press it down. Oh, let me pull this down so you can see that. And I'm gonna go down to 1 inch. And you see on our cutter, there's that 1 inch mark. And our blades have marks along either side. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm gonna line up that 1 inch, there's one, and I've got that score line in the blade to 1 inch. And then I'm gonna move this down to 2 1/2 inches, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna bring this down to the 1 inch mark. And then, I don't technically have to score it, but I would like to score it just because it just folds better. So now I'm moving my folded edge to the 1-inch mark. And then I can bring this down to the 1 1/4 because that was where my first cut was, and take that to the 2 1/2. So it's really just about another 1 1/2 inches. There we go. And then I can do that on the other side. This time I'm at the 1-inch mark here, and I'm just kind of watching it there to there. All right. There we go. So now I have my inside piece. It's going to go this way. And all I'm going to do is push it up, and then those fold there that way. Did you see that? See how I did that? It started like that. I had my cuts and my folds. This fold is coming in, and that one's going out. And that's all there is to it. All right, now we're ready to get everything assembled. So let's see. Let's start with the front of the card. Put that one aside for now. So I'm going to attach, I'm just using liquid glue. Use your favorite adhesive, whatever that may be. I do like liquid glue for an embossed piece, especially a piece like this bark embossing folder is really pretty thick. And I'm just kind of angling this, you know, I'm not really getting too fancy about or precise about where it's going. And then I'm going to take this next piece. Again, because it's going over the bark embossing folder, I want this piece to be using the liquid glue. And I'm going to just make this one a little bit straighter. There we go. And now I am going to layer my tree on top of there. I think, you know what? I think before I do that, I think I will attach it to the card base. This is all, nothing's popped up yet. This is all just regular card base. I'm trying to think to myself, I made this a while ago, so I'm trying to remember, maybe I should do my inside before I do the rest of the front. What do you think? Will it matter? Probably not in the long run, but I think I am going to do that. So let's go ahead and now work on the inside. So this is the inside of our card. I'm going to adhere that strip of Designer Series paper just on the bottom here. One of the reasons I went up 1 1/4 inches was because this piece is that same size. So yeah, sometimes there's a reason for the madness, right? Sometimes there's not, but this one there is. So I'm just adhering that with some liquid glue to the inside. And then the whole thing is going to be going on the inside of the card. So there is a little trick to this. So you can see I'm kind of lining it up like that. And it'll move a little bit when I close it. So essentially, I line up one side first. Close it in half. Kind of as close as I can. Like that. Get it all lined up. Pretty straight. And then I'm going to put down my liquid glue. That down, and I'm going to take the card base and close it. All right, give it a good back rub. And now you can see why I wanted to put that inside first, because if I had all those other layers on top, it would be a little harder to attach. So now I take this side and adhere my glue to it. And voila. All right, to give it a good back rub, keep it down. There you go, see? So it's okay, you'll see there's a little bit of a gap there. That's not a problem with that gap. So you'll see that got that going on. So now I'm gonna attach the front to the card and continue. Now I'm just gonna use liquid glue on this layer. And I really don't need to worry too much about the top of it at all. There's a fair amount, you know, it's thick enough that I can get some good adhesion, and there are a few spots that are a little bit wider, so even just using the liquid glue, you just get a little drop. And it's going to be covered up by the crown of the tree, which I cut out with the other die. Here we go. There we go. Okay. A bit of liquid glue there. That's not going to be a problem. All right. Now, this is a little bit trickier. This piece, which I cut out of the Designer Series paper with the die, came out really easy. You can see this is the die that I used. You can see all the different layers. Isn't that just so pretty, though? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up my dimensionals for this. I'm using my mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put them on the back of this layer. So there are a few spots where the mini dimensional fits pretty well just the way it is, but not too many, just a couple of spots. So I put those full size on first. I think that's about it. And then I'm going to cut them in half. There are a few more spots where I can use those. And it doesn't need to be everywhere. It really just needs a few places. And I'm trying to kind of even out where I'm putting those dimensionals so that it sticks, right? So it doesn't come up on me. I'd like to get one over here somewhere. There we go. Maybe one more down here. Okay. I think that'll be fine. And now I just take the backing off of those. There we go. All right. And you will see that this kind of sticks up a little bit. So I'm going to I want to make sure that I don't have the tree sticking out past my card here. And I am going to have to go in, and that's okay. I'm going to go in and cut some of those branches because I don't know about you, but I don't like trees when they've got those die back up in the crown. I don't like the way that looks. So I'm just going in with my scissors kind of underneath the crown and trimming those pieces off. I'm a little particular about my landscaping, so can't have my cards reflecting a bad landscape. Okay, there we go. And we're gonna attach our sentiment. So because it's ribbon and I want to attach the ribbon to the back of the sentiment, I want it to go this way. I'm going to attach the ribbon with glue dots because I think that's the best adhesive to use for ribbon. So I'm going to just put a glue dot on the center here on my sentiment, just 2 mini glue dots there and there. And then I'm going to just line that up. And of course, you could cut it after you line it up either way. There we go. And then I'm going to take that whole thing and attach it to my card with dimensionals. So we've got a little bit of pop up there. I don't like to make my cards too bulky because then you can't send them in the mail. And I do send a lot of my cards in the mail, more so than just having them delivering them by hand. Okay, there we go. Isn't that cute? All right, we need one more thing. Got these little birds, these two little birds. There's a die that cuts out these cute little birds. And I don't know if you know this, but I am a bird watcher. Love, love, love my birdies. So and trees, nature, birds, this set is just right up my alley. So I'm going to I'm going to cut that in half again. That one went in quarters. That one was already cut. A little frog in my throat today. All right. I'm going to take that and put that one on there. Put that one on the back there. Cute. Let's see. And I am actually going to kind of put it, I'm going to try and get it kind of underneath in one of the holes in the crown of the tree. It doesn't matter dramatically, but it just seems like it'll stick a little bit better if I do that. See how there's that hole there? So I'm kind of putting that guy there. But you can do whatever you like. So there we go. Oh, and you know what I forgot to do? They need some eyes. Absolutely. So I have, so I could use a Sharpie, but you know what? Because everything is in the brown family, I'm going to grab my Early Espresso Stampin' Right marker. Of course, you know, even better to do this before I put those birdies on the card, but it's not a problem. There is actually in the die, there's actually like a little impression that you can see where their eye should be. You probably can't see that in the, that one's a little trickier because I can't get any leverage. There we go. There we go. Isn't that better? Should I leave well enough alone? You know, that's always the risk, right? You go over it and then you should have left well enough alone. But I think that that's fine, just the way it is. All right, now we're going to finish our inside. So I did not write a sentiment in here because a thinking of you card, you know, I usually want to have more room to write. So all we're going to do now is our pop-up. Now, this is a little, I think that's fine. I just want to make sure it doesn't go past the card. And I'm just going to attach the tree top to this part of that pop-up. So I'm going to just use, I think I'll use liquid glue. And I'm just putting a little bit of liquid glue on that half. Make sure you don't go up too high because you don't want it to, you know, stick on your card, and then it's actually got to come over some because we need room for the rest of that crown to go in. So kind of slide it over a little bit. That's what I like about the liquid glue. It gives you a little bit of time to play with it. Okay, so now I can take this piece and I'm going to put some glue on here because I know that it's going to be covering all of that area, and I'll do a little bit, just a little bit on this side because I don't want it to get on the inside of my card and glue my card shut. That would not be good, would it? And now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of lining up the pieces here. That's what I'm kind of watching to get that tree lined up, and then pinching in the back where I put the glue on the tree trunk and the branches. There we go. That's it. Now, isn't that sweet? Just a fun little pop-up, nice and easy. There are so many different ways you could use a pop-up in a card, and I just thought this was a fun way to show it using this Beauty of the Earth, Beauty of Friendship stamp set and the Beauty of the Earth suite. So I hope you liked my card today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. I am Linda Edwards with Crafty Heron Designs. You can find me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Crafty Heron Designs. Would love to be your demonstrator. If you don't currently have a demonstrator, would love for you to join my team or do your shopping with me. I'm at Crafty Heron Designs at stampinup.net. And if you have suggestions for future cards, future techniques maybe that you'd like to learn, shoot me a text or, comment on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. Let me know in the comments if there's something in particular you'd like to see or a particular stamp set that you would like me to work with. I do hold classes in my home, and if you are local in the Georgia area, I would love for you to join us. We have a lot of fun. And it's just being creative. One of my goals with Stampin' Up! Is really to help you unleash your inner creativity. It's there in everyone. And Stampin' Up! Makes it really easy for us to be creative. So bye for now. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Ta-ta.